I can calculate the mass percentage of elements in a compound, and this is the next problem that we're going to try to solve. 120 grams of silver chloride, that means it only contains silver and chlorine. It contains 57 grams of silver. What is the percentage of silver in the substance? What's the mass of chlorine? And what is the percentage of chlorine? So we need to carefully keep track of our given quantities and our unknown quantities. So our given quantities, we have 120 grams of silver chloride. So I'm going to call that my total. 120 grams is my total. And it contains 57 grams of silver. So I have the mass of silver is equal to 57 grams. Now, my unknown quantities are, what is the percentage of silver in the substance? So I'm going to say percent silver. Unknown is what is the mass of chlorine. So I'm going to say mass chlorine. And finally, what is the percentage of chlorine? So these are my three unknown quantities. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the percent of silver. And I want to do that first because in order to find the percent silver, and remember, a percent is just a fraction. So if I want to find the fraction of silver in a compound, I'm going to take the mass of silver, I'm going to divide it by the total, and I'm going to multiply that quantity by 100. Because a percent is a fraction out of 100. And that is going to give me the percent silver. So I'm going to take the mass of silver, 57 grams, divided by my total, 120 grams. My grams cancels out because I have one on the top and one on the bottom. Multiply that by 100. And when I do that out, 57 divided by 120 multiplied by 100. No, that's a 7. I get 47.5. And this is a percent. So I have 47.5% silver. So I solve for this unknown. That's done. The next thing I want to find is the mass of chlorine and the percent of chlorine. Now, the mass of chlorine is very easy to find given our total, because if I have, this is my pie chart, if I have 120 grams total, all right, this circle represents the total amount of my compound is 120 grams. Silver accounts for 57 grams. So the rest has to be the mass of my chlorine. So what I want to do is I want to take my 120, I'm going to take my total to find the mass of chlorine. Is equal to my total minus the mass of my silver. So that will be 120 minus 57. That is a 7. 63. 63 grams of chlorine. 63 grams of chlorine plus 57 grams of silver. That's going to equal my total of 120. So that's how I know that that's right. So now I know my mass of chlorine, 63 grams. And finally, I need to solve for the percent of chlorine. There are two ways that you can find the percent of chlorine. The easiest way is to do percent chlorine. It's going to equal 100% minus the percent silver. Right? Because if 100% is my total, 100% means everything. I have 47.5% silver. The rest is going to be chlorine. So it's going to be 100% minus 47.5%. What's left over is the percent of chlorine. So that's 100 minus 47.5. No, all right, calculator's acting up. There we go. 52.5% chlorine. 100% minus a percent silver. So that was 100 minus 47.5. It's equal to 52.5. So I have 52.5% chlorine. Now, here's another way that I could have found that percent of chlorine. Because remember, a percent of something is going to equal the mass of something divided by the total multiplied by 100. So my percent of chlorine is going to be the mass of chlorine, 63 grams, divided by my total, 120 grams, multiplied by 100, which is 63 over 120 times 100. 52.5. So I get the same answer. There are multiple ways to solve these problems, so just pick the one that's easiest and most efficient for you. But the key idea here is whenever you want to find a percent of a compound in a substance, you need to take the mass of that. You need to take the mass of that element and divide it by the total mass of the compound multiplied by 100, and that will give you your percent.